Well, I know that the World Future Council is already working on climate change and forests and agriculture, which are important issues for an institution like this. So I think if I was going to give a more creative answer, I would suggest that we also need to look at global economic systems, and in particular our international trade and investment rules, so the policies and the laws that are right now being put in place, what one person ill-advisedly called at a certain point the economic constitution for the planet. And I don't think that these policies and that global cooperation on international economic issues is inherently bad. I just think that the way it's being done and the people who are doing it currently need a great deal of support in order to ensure that their policies and their laws, their international treaties, are fostering rather than frustrating sustainable development and social justice, environmental protection, real economic development goals. Right now there's a little bit of a short-term thinking there, and it will be necessary to think more in the interests of future generations, including how to safeguard policy and regulatory flexibility for countries that are signing on to global trade rules and signing on to international investment treaties without having the rules and the systems and the mechanisms in place to protect their public policy interests. And I think that's a very dangerous thing to do, but it is also, because of the current global economic climate, something that increasingly countries are being expected to do, and their leaders are being convinced to do. It's something that the World Future Council could take on, because it has among its members enough visionaries, enough individuals whose lives show that it's possible to think in a different way about these issues and to communicate that thinking to others around the world. The global economic rules, treaties and institutions will benefit from the increased legitimacy, the increased effectiveness, with the better structuring that could be done with that kind of thinking being taken into account. So I don't see it as a war, I see it as a process of change. Well, I think that more thinking is needed before we're ready to just take one action. There are many actions taken all the time to try to change trade and investment law, and most of them are marginal at best and incredibly wasteful of energy in more cases than not. So I think that if we are able to take the work of some of the people on the council in terms of alternative human scale development, in terms of understanding the scale and scope of different economic systems and how they're nested within each other, put that together into an experts commission that considers these issues and comes out with some groundbreaking new ideas, and then begin a campaign to help governments to realize how they can take into account those ideas, and others who are not governments but participants, either as victims or as beneficiaries of the present global economic system, to realize what their place is in and what it depends on. We would have some very strong contributions to make. So I wouldn't suggest sort of, simply buying organic coffee. That's part of the solution, but it's a choice every individual can make. I would suggest some groundbreaking work to figure out what kinds of products could be also made and sold, not only organically, but in a fair trade way, and mapping out a future vision for an alternative economic system at the global level, and then understanding what kind of rules are needed to be able to bring that into effect. And the third step, which many of us often miss, is the how do we get there from here? And that is, I think, still something that we would need to work on very hard. It's something that the World Future Council needs to do. Indeed, if we have the groundbreaking thinking, and we have the international knowledge and expertise and wisdom at our fingertips in the individuals and their life's work that has been done on these issues, what we are still missing is how to get there from here. And the World Future Council could do an incredible contribution in that area. Yeah, it's something that sort of looks at where we are now and then lays out not an agenda for reform, but a series of steps that one could take, almost a blueprint for how to build a better system out of that. And I don't think that any of us benefit from simply tearing down the system we have. So the question is, if your goal is so different from the current reality, what are the steps that are needed? How do you construct the reality that we need? And that is something that an institution like the World Future Council could bring.